Though I can't quite recall overnight sensation.
Welcome to the shop, and in this episode we're going to take a very brief look to episode 7 because there was no live stream or video review last week, so we're going to get a last chance to shit on Jan, because, you know, we're going to shit on Jan quite a lot, courtesy of World of Wonder for those constipated viewers out there. And since we are on topic, it's also time to lick RuPaul's ass, because, come on, let's be honest, who doesn't want a nice taste of the goddess? Yummy. That song takes a whole new meaning in this context. Mario, you mean money, not yummy. Ooh, shit. And then we have episode 8 with the Snatch Game of Love, now more edited than ever. More ass licking for RuPaul because, girl, come on, let's be honest. That crown is so close I can almost taste it. Plus Pandora and Trinity thrown under the bus, Eureka's edit rising up, and Pandy being unceremoniously sent home. There is not a single moment to shine, and there is not a win under her belt. So I'm pretty sure Kandy Ho would be real proud of Pandora Box, like real proud. Of course, at the end of the video, we are going to have our final speculations for this season of All Stars. Now, we are actually on vacation and enjoying some times with our families, and since we come from different states, the past weeks there was a lot of traveling involved. So as a result, we skipped the review for episode 7 last week, and the coming up reviews will be a little bit shorter than usual, and I apologize for that. But I'm here to make you a promise. If this channel ever gets to a point in which it actually starts paying some bills, I'll step it up and make sure to deliver every episode on time. And if you want to help with that, of course, we have a Patreon. For the moment, we still have a Patreon. And if you like what we do, of course, please take a moment to leave a comment, give the video a like, and even share it if you can, because the YouTube algorithm rarely suggests any of our content to new viewers, and more engagement is what is needed to convince our binary overlord that this is high quality content that deserves to be suggested to new viewers. So thank you so much, and now let's dig in. It's episode 7, and the main challenge is to write an uplifting drag anthem called Show Up Queens. So the lyrics have to be entertaining, they have to inspire, they have to teach the children what these queens stand for. And in addition, they also have to sing the lyrics, they have to prepare choreo for the number, and then perform the number on stage. The problem is, by the end of all of this, we're going to find out that the lyrics are like 90% of what counts in the actual judging. I wonder why. That's curious. I really wonder why. The queens divide into groups, and of course we have an obligatory shot of the queens pretending, allegedly of course, to write the lyrics. I'm saying pretending because Denali actually spilled some tea last season saying that they all prepared their lyrics in advance. Did it happen for All Stars as well? I tend to think yes, because this is RuPaul's Drag Race in 2021, so for me there is no doubt. But allegedly, let's not forget the magic word, allegedly. So at this point we have Kylie opening up to RuPaul. And the question on everybody's lips is Kylie actually licking RuPaul's ass, or is she being sincere? Now, from my point of view, and I hope my positive bias toward Kylie is not playing up, but to me it looks sincere. For one very, very simple reason. RuPaul's reaction. She's like, what the fuck is happening? This was not in the script. This is embarrassing. I don't know what to say. That was RuPaul's face. If you know anything about meeting celebrities, one of the first things that they tell you is please don't mention if they remember something or if they remember meeting you before, because these people literally meet thousands of people every year. They cannot possibly remember everyone, but they will still look like douchebags if you say, oh, do you remember? And then they don't remember. So the first rule is never mention if they remember anything. So of course Kylie goes in, and she looks really sincere to me, and she's like, one time you were signing books in Atlanta and you have RuPaul stone-faced. And then she continues, and you wrote self-love on this, what was it, a calendar, I think, or a book, I don't remember, but you wrote self-love in that, and I was really grateful, it changed my life. And RuPaul's response, I shit you not, RuPaul's response is, yeah.
I just feel like people always wanted to change who I was, and it just felt so good. I share that with everybody, that it's okay to love yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, what the hell? You can really say that Mama Ru is sure showing that funk and humanity. Almost as if she lacks soul. I wonder if this is going to play a role later on. So, moving on, in all of this, we managed to find a nice shot of our dear Jen and realize that she has no pimple on the nose. So we can confirm that pimple on the nose Jen was coming from the future, and her words taken out of context to portray Jen as a villain since what? Episode 4? Episode 3? I don't remember anymore. Let's move to rehearsal. We move to rehearsal because it's time to shit on Jen. Yay! So while recording her lyrics, we are immediately intercepted by wavy hair Eureka teleporting from nobody knows where in order to shit on Jen. Of course, we have our usual load of tense music playing in the background, plus all of these 3 shots of 3 queens bitch facing all to Jen. And we're going to shit on Jen a lot in this episode because she's going to go home by the end of the episode, so we want to make the most of the time that we have. So Eureka is here to tell us that, oh shit, yes Eureka, you are a sex magnet. Nobody's doubting that. Where's the right one? There it is. Eureka is not sure that whatever Jance is doing, that's not what the assignment was.
I'm peppy, peppy, peppy. That's my energy.
It's not really about how you can change the world. It's more about like, look at me, I'm peppy, peppy, peppy. I'm nice, I love myself, boom.
Like Mama Ru said, bring my funk.
I'm not sure if that's what the assignment was.
And after this, it's time to shit a little bit on Pandora box with some input hoeing from Ginger. Because why not?
If one person is off, bro, it's going to go off.
Yeah, because you're only as strong as your weakest performer.
So you know that by the end of this, Jen is not doing well, Pandy is not doing well, so of course they're going to be in the bottom 2. What is it? 15 minutes in, we already have our bottom 2. Incredibly Jen, who is a singer, who is a dancer, but she will have to be in the bottom. I wonder why. Could it be triggering being in the bottom? Oh, maybe. Was she triggered? No. Oh, that's why she went home. Allegedly, of course. Allegedly. So let's move on to the main challenge because we have to have some terrible editing of the 2 different shots that they did of this performance. Apparently, Jen is able to teleport her arms and move her body in the snap of a finger.
I'm peppy, peppy, peppy. That's my energy. Once and all the time, that's how I be. That's my energy. Once and all the time, that's how I be.
And there is also another section in which you see Pandora conveniently disappearing from a ton of shots. It's like a ton of them. And you're like, well, but the camera is moving so fast, yet it always manages to never catch Pandora. So already we knew that Jen and Pandora were going to be in the bottom. Now after this shot, we also know that Jen is going to go home. So at this point, you can already understand how invested I was in this episode. After this, we jump to the Cryptiques because of course it's time to shit on Jen. And by this point, by the time that we get to the Cryptiques, somehow the lyrics are 90% of the challenge. You know, writing, they had to write them. And then on top of that, they had to sing. Then they had to prepare outfits for the challenge and for the runway. Then they have to prepare a choreo. Then they had to execute the choreo. And in all of this, the lyrics are 90%. Everything else is nothing. I wonder why. So we have one last attempt to trigger Jen, with Carcel saying, "Oh, it was an excellent costume, but the lyrics were a little light." And Michelle, the thing that was missing was inspiration. And finally, the cherry on top, RuPaul herself. You hit every mark, but your performance lacked soul. And I'm like, I don't know. I know that there is an idiom for that. I don't know that. But I'm like, RuPaul is telling someone that she lacks soul. I'm like, oh shit. that cannot be happening. Come on.
You know, it was interesting watching because you hit every mark and you're a professional and all of that. But the performance lacked soul. Thank you.
Thank you.
Apparently, Jen, you are a soulless individual who lacks funk and humanity. And that, my dear kids, is what is called projection. The more you know. Have fun with it. What else do we have? Oh, we are back in the workroom because it's time to shit on Jen. Yes. Oh my god, we are shitting on Jen so much. Are we done yet? Let me check. No, we're not done yet. We are not done yet. So while Jen is pleading her case and saying, well, you know, I can see myself in the top 4. And I'm like, yes, of course. What's wrong with that? You can see yourself in there. You're defending your case. That's perfect. Too bad that everybody else is bitch facing. It's like, my god, this bitch is delusional. And of course, our Heary music on the background so that everything ties together. And the poor viewer who doesn't know anything about editing is thinking, that bitch is delusional. She sure is. But we know better. We do know better.
I want to fucking be here. I know I deserve to be here, and I know I deserve another shot. I'm a fucking all-star, and I can see myself in that top 4.
What else do we have? Ooh, Untucked. Oh my god, that Untucked. That Untucked was bullshit.
Bullshit. That's bullshit. Bullshit.
That's a joke.
Every fucking time.
I was being realistic.
Realistic was bullshit. Girl, bullshit. You are a fucking liar.
Oh, damn. Let me go to the comments for a moment. I need to prepare. Lysander, Pandora was moving so fast that not even the camera was able to catch her. She's the Sonic of drag. Youth caused it. We can talk about the judges' comments regarding Eureka's look. Don't they always tell them to step it up for All Stars? I was confused. She got positive comments about that. Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't have time to go into everybody's Cryptiques. So we are going to skip a little bit on this episode 7, unfortunately. Now, moving on, we move to Untucked. And this is going to become a thing in episode 8 as well, because the queens are so close to the top 4 that they want to be absolutely sure that Mama knows that they love her. So we have Kylie, Raja, Eureka, Ginger, and Jen all licking RuPaul's ass, like so bad. They go in saying, oh, it was sickening to talk to RuPaul. Ru is someone that truly sees you, someone that you want to talk all day long to. The walkthrough with RuPaul was really sickening. They all look up to her so much to the point where it's intimidating. She always looks so good. It's difficult to be comfortable around, quote, wow, RuPaul, end quote. She is inspirational, she is wise. When she said, you reach more when you don't preach more. And RuPaul is relatable. Her words are responsible for the motivation that got people where they are today. And Ru is that beautiful person that was on the TV, the supermodel of the world. So we have this huge ass licking for RuPaul, and I know, trust me, I know. What's the question on everybody's mind? What does RuPaul's ass actually taste like? Well, I'm glad you asked, because RuPaul's ass is a delicacy served only in the top gourmet restaurants, and RuPaul's ass tastes like being able to pay back your student loans. buying a house instead of renting, doing drag full time, being able to get paid in a week what people earn in a year, at least for a while, and her ass tastes like money and economical independence. So I'm not faulting any of them for doing what they need to do in order to get the job done. It's called being professional. If you are a queen, you are in this business, World of Wonder and RuPaul basically have a monopoly. You have to do what you have to do. I will understand it. So don't worry, because around the internet, especially here on YouTube, people like us who can call us this bullshit, we are getting more. There is just more of us. So these things will come out. You queens, your job is to look beautiful, play the game, lick RuPaul's ass, pray for the best. That is what you have to do. What we do is say all the things that you cannot say. So that is the basic deal. So I fault none of them for doing what they do. It's work. It's work. You know, that's how you pay the bills. It's work. And, you know, it's not like they thrown someone under the bus in a way in which you got social media backlash and get problems with their gigs, with their future bookings, and so on and so forth. They're just licking RuPaul's ass. So, I know. It's cringe to watch it, but in a way, it's inoffensive. It's really inoffensive. And you know that Ru seems to be very sensitive about her reception. Remember that Australian queen? What was her name? Courtney Act, wasn't it? That was conveniently forgotten by the franchise for simply saying, and I shit you not, for simply saying, well, when it comes to RuPaul, there is a difference between RuPaul the entertainer and RuPaul the person behind the entertainer. That was it. That was it. And she disappeared, never to be seen again in the franchise. So, you know, it's a good practice to lick RuPaul's ass. Some of them are very good at it, and maybe even genuine when they do it. Others, well, not everyone is Kylie. I just want to say that. Chat, what do you think? Mario, money, yes. Jules, don't want to taste that ass, thank you anyway. Grover, it tastes like fracking oil. You guys are so fucking shady. I love it. Thank you. Nora, who wouldn't relate to a humble queen like RuPaul? Well, it's not that RuPaul is not humble. I'm sure she had moments in which she was humble. But you know. Eureka said that so she can get a challenge win. Oh, she said it so that she can get a challenge win. Well, she didn't get one. Good God, there is a movie, an older movie, I'm sure. If you're a younger viewer, it's an older movie called The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. And in the opening sequence, you have these people seemingly emerging from oil, something like that. It looks like a fucked up trailer for RuPaul's Drag Race. So if you have a chance, watch that intro, thinking about RuPaul, and you'll get your life. Okay, what else do we have after this? The lip sync. Ooh, let's go to the lip sync. So the lip sync assassin is Alexis Mateo. Welcome back. It's great to see you, Alexis. She is really one of my favorite queens from the very, very early season. I loved Alexis in season 3. I don't think last season of All Stars did her justice, but we covered that, thankfully. And she just does great in the lip sync. I loved her reveal, and most important of all, Trinity broke the first and most important commandment. Never remove your wig. Unless there is another wig underneath. This is simply unforgivable. So the moment she lost her wig and didn't even care to put it back on, I knew that Alexis was going to murder her. There was no chance whatsoever. The goddess never forgave that sin. That's as simple as that. Pick up your wig and put it back on like I did it. That's how your savior has. But she didn't, so Alexis won. And at this point, we have the gag of the double elimination. And there is something strange going on here, isn't it? Because at some point Ru states, well, in this case, the rules give back the power of elimination to the top all-star of the week. And I'm like, oh yes, that's an interesting rule. Too bad that it's just a crock of shit. Because this rule was never introduced to the audience or the queens. Because in next episode, some editors conveniently forgot to edit out Ginger saying that she had no idea what would happen because of the lipstick draw. And all queens were agreeing. So why did this happen, that they came out of nowhere with this new rule? Because clearly production knew that there could be draws, it can happen, but never told any rules to anyone, because it conveniently gives them the power to do what they want by stating a convenient rule at a later time. For example, imagine this scenario. A queen is scheduled to be in the top 4, but has a huge breakdown and fucks up everything behind measure. So there is no amount of editing that can help, there is no kind of fake cryptiques that can help. She just needs to be on the bottom. So it's something that rarely happens, but you want to be prepared for everything. So this queen that has to be in the top 4 goes in the bottom. She is tied up for elimination by the group with another queen, and the top all-stars decided to Manila her. So in this case, production can come out and say, well, the rule says that the queen with the best track record stays, or the queens will have to vote again. No doubt after being properly handled by the talent handlers, of course, or maybe filming a couple of confessionals with some of the producers. So the golden rule here is, as it always was, it's World of Wonder. They just don't like having most of the power, they want all of the power. Norveg, this rule is exactly the same as they banned the rule whether they judge team as teams or the members as individual. Yes, it's the same trick. It's the same trick. You avoid stating a rule at the very beginning so that you cannot be held accountable for breaking that rule later on. Because if you didn't state it, then you're not breaking any rule. You know? It's something that also it's pretty common to find in gaslit relationships. So after this, Jen goes home after being unsuccessfully triggered during the Cryptiques. Trinity chose her, and judging by how well she's been playing the game, I guess she knew production would never allow an older queen like Pandora to ever really shine or even reach the top 4. And you know, I don't throw these words around like that easy, but you know that ageism is always kind of something very fashionable on this show, and we had tons of examples in the past seasons. So, you know, props to Trinity for stepping it up. It's good that she knows how to play the game, but in a way it's also nice that they finally stopped shitting on Jen. And talking about shitting on Jen, we have one last opportunity to shit on Jen. Yes, because while Jen says her goodbyes, we are intercepted by franken sentences during a mismatched confessional with, you guessed it, our dear pimple on the nose, Jen. So remember the golden rules of confessionals. If you cannot see them talking, then there is a very high chance that sentences were patched together. That's actually Franken sentence 101, because people will see the difference if you have two different shots from confessionals immediately next to each other. So Jen said, the queen voted me because they, and then on camera, think of me as a threat. And I'm like, yes, we know that this confessional is coming from somewhere else. And then it continues off camera. They all see that I have a potential to do, and then on camera, all of the things that, and then off camera again, takes to win this crown.
I can't help but feel like the queens voted me out because they think of me as a threat. They all see that I have the potential to do all of the things it takes to win this crown.
There is so much messing around that I'm really not surprised that a lot of people on social media reacted to Jen as if she was completely delusional. Sasha, being in social media while liking Jen was a torture. Every time I talked about, I got blocked or got death threats because people couldn't accept someone defending Jen with actual proof. Well, when people don't want to listen, you shouldn't waste your time trying talking to them. I mean, if they seek you out, just block them and get done with it. Because you really don't want to waste your time trying to convince people who are not interested in listening to you in the first place. Because while you lose time with those people, then you lose the opportunity to actually spend time with other people who are more curious, more driven to understand things that's going on, and could really make a step forward in their thinking if they have the opportunity to have an exchange with you. So what I'm thinking is, if they don't want to listen, don't waste your time, because you're losing a ton of amazing people out there who just want someone reasonable to talk to and they cannot find them. So Jen was not happy, and she actually published this tweet that was later deleted, so thanks to the RuPaul's Drag Race drama subreddit for archiving these tweets, in which saying that at least she was allowed to be herself during Untucked, because, you know, everything that went on during the show made her shocked, embarrassed, and hurt. And she, you know, she feels like she was not portrayed at herself. At the end of her run, after all that we have seen on television and on social media, I can confidently say that Jen was definitely thrown under the bus, like in a way that we have not seen in years. Unfortunately, this is a risk that you need to account for before you go on Drag Race. You cannot trust them to do anything more than making the most engaging show that they can and getting the most money that they can out of it. They are not there to protect the reputations of these queens. They are there to exploit their talent and make money. Now, while they do this, the queens also get to appear on a huge platform that can help them to build an incredible career. I understand the struggle, but before you even audition, you need to prepare yourself to all of this. You need to be mentally prepared for when you will be there, and also for when the show will actually air, so that you have your social media under control and you can contain as much of the damage as you can if damage really does occur. Even the thing is, this is a systematic attempt to break Jen's psyche. Bob the drag queen. Did Bob really say that? Do you see that when I tell you, yes, sometimes there are those rare times in which Bob says complete bullshit, but it's like 1% of the time, 99% of the time, it will say the things nobody says. This is exactly what I mean. Pavlin SP3D says, RuPaul's Drag Race is an awful show, obviously. Look at Fifi. She quit drag due to death threats, and all of this because of the 10 edit she received in both over a season. I agree in one way, I disagree in the other way. I wouldn't go as far as, oh, let's just, you know, digest everything and pretend that nothing happened, because we have a Drag Race channel, so you need to protect our interests. It's fucked up what's happening. But on the other hand, this is also the most influential show of this of our generation, of my generation at least. I'm emotionally attached to it, and I can see the heights that it can actually reach if producers stop fucking with it. And that's what I want to see. What we used to see back in the day. Before, of course, it was also different times. We didn't have social media like this. But I know that this show can reach those heights again. That's why I never give up with it. It's like an old relationship in which you say, yes, it's been shitty for the last 4 years. But the 7 years before that were great. So, you know, we should speak up about this kind of shit happening, and maybe also, you know, vote with our wallet, in the case in which we can vote with our wallet, and signal to them that, listen, we are here, we support the show, we love the show, but a couple of things need to fucking change. And a couple of things started to change, like the fact that finally trans women and trans men are allowed to be on the show, so you know that things can change. We just have to push for it. That's the point. We have to push for it. They have shown to be receptive, so let's hope that they will be receptive in this as well, at least as much as they can. For what concerned Viacom CBS, which, you know, is the one actually buying these seasons, I don't know about that. But World of Wonder has shown to be receptive, if they want to be receptive. So let's move on to episode 8 now. We are back in the workroom, and we find out that the queens had no idea what would happen if there was a lipstick tie. So we have Raja and Eureka confirming that there never was a tie in an all-star season, and Ginger tells that her and Eureka had no idea what would happen. Maybe even both the queen would go home.
Can we talk about the twist? So is this the first time that has happened?
I don't think there's ever been a tie.
Yeah. Wow.
Eureka and I were like, so what does this mean now? Do both of them go home?
Right.
That's why I dropped my head. I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
So, do you see my point here? That rule was not just not clear for us, it wasn't clear for them as well. So, everything that I said before still stands because of this. After being shown RuPaul's sweatpants in Untucked, you know that someone else is going to be fired because they forgot to edit out Ginger confirming that the rule was never explicitly stated before, even to the queens. And that is gaggy. That is really gaggy. So at this point we have Trinity trying to explain why she chose Pandora over Jen, and saying that, well, Pandora put a lot of work in what she was doing and never done really bad in the competition. And I'm like, you gotta do what you gotta do. I understand, Trinity. I see you. I understand. Don't worry. So we're back in the workroom because RuPaul is announcing the Maxi Challenge. It's the Snatch Game of Love, sponsored by Nina West. So after 8 weeks of filming, which is really 2 weeks at most, plus 2 weeks of quarantine before filming, the queens will have to overact a character and try to snatch their bachelor during the long-awaited Snatch Game of Love, sponsored by Nina West, of course. So speaking of fetishes, it's also time to lick RuPaul's ass a little bit more. While Eureka is saying that she'll be playing Divine, she's intercepted by Ginger saying, oh, Divine? That's the original drag superstar. Before RuPaul, there was Divine. And you see what I mean when I say Ginger is professional? Because this is really unconspicuous, you know? She is connecting to something that is really happening, and then she slips in something, oh, the RuPaul, the original drag superstar. Props to Ginger, great job. Of course, we have our obligatory shot of RuPaul pretending to recognize a character. And I'm like, it's not like you already knows these characters like months in advance. So, you know, we have just this obligatory shot. I don't know why they do it. I don't think there are people who are still buying it. Is any of you actually buying that RuPaul doesn't know the characters? Or am I stroking over here? She is one of the top producers of the show. I think she might even have a voice when it comes to, oh, no, what's your backup character? That one? Okay, then you do that one. And after this, it's time to lick RuPaul's ass a little bit more, with Raja this time, saying, oh, I love the suit. And RuPaul is like, oh, thank you so much. Something curious that happens in here is that RuPaul failed to mention the designer, which is strange. And then I realized, oh wait, maybe you just didn't pay for the publicity, so if you don't pay, you don't get mentioned. Because they mentioned him like once, one time. Then never anymore. And after this, it's soon time for a triple, not double, but a triple mashup confessional with Trinity explaining that she is not quick, she's feeling under pressure for this challenge because improv is not really her element.
I can be funny when it's scripted. What I am not is quick. And at the Snatch Game of Love, you got to say it off the top of your head, and you have to be very witty, and you have to be aware of the character that you're doing. So it's a lot of pressure, and I can't be in the bottom in front of Tina. I'm not giving up. Nope.
At this point, you already know that either she's going to win the Snatch Game of Love, or she's going to be in the bottom. And immediately after this, we have Trinity subtly saying to a Snatch Game winner and front runner of this season, quote, I have the top track record right now, so if I happen to be in the bottom, I think I'll be fine, wink wink. To which Ginger is not really amused. Ginger is like, she's classier than that, you know? She sends messages like in a more subtle way. So let me tell you, this is not a good addition for Trinity. They could have easily edited this out, yet it was left in. So the whole thing is also playing with shady music in the background, and ultimately the fact that it has on us, the viewers, is that pushes Trinity's edit a little bit down. Also, conveniently, elevating Ginger's by contrast, because, you know, contrast always helps.
I have, humbly saying, the top track record right now, and if I happen to land in the bottom, you know, I think that I will be okay this go around.
And now it's time for the Snatch Game of Love. Sponsored by Nina West, of course. So we have a ton of fake audience laugh, because why not? Upbeat music and obligatory Rue's laugh, because we need to help the performances of the top queens. And the crickets, silence, or shady music playing for the bottom queens, with, of course, shots of people confused or bitch facing, just for good measure. So, you know, it's the usual edit on RuPaul's Drag Race. Let's start with Ginger, Trinity, and Kylie. I think Ginger and Kylie did absolutely great, but at some point they really got to a point in which they, both of them wanted to have the last word. It's like one was saying something, then the other was responding, then the other was responding, then the other was responding. And the more this happened, the less it looked like banter and more like people who were really at each other's throat. I was like in this parallel universe thinking, these people are killing each other. We are laughing, we all think it's comedy, but they're really killing each other. I don't know how to feel about that. But they generally did really, really good. Of course, not so much for Trinity and her crickets.
My hall pass sweetie would probably be somebody in a cell at the LA County Jail because Whitney don't do no sharing.
Okay.
Okay.
She does her best, but you know, the editing does her absolutely no favor, and also being sandwiched in between such strong performances do her no favor. Because let's not forget, and she said it, this is not what she is good at. She already is in a difficult place. Now she's in an even more difficult place to be in. My favorite line in all of this was Kylie's, of course, because if you know me, you know my fucked up sense of humor. When Kylie said, girl, we don't need the whole airport, just the landing strip. And I was like, yes, Kylie. Yes. Kylie. Somehow I wish she did better in this season, but at the same time I'm happy that she's getting a very good edit and a very good run. Next up, we have Pandora Box, Eureka, and Raja. And this time, Pandy is the one that's sandwiched between two very strong performances. Now, for me, Eureka came off just as okay. Pandy was completely lost, of course, and Raja did the best. She genuinely managed to make me laugh without using fucked up jokes or innuendos, which, you know, it's quite an accomplishment. In all of this, Eureka was not really happy because she said that they cut out a ton of her performances. And this is, again, courtesy of the drama subreddit. And she said, okay, now that it's the next day, I'm not happy with the divine edit I received. There was so many iconic lines I gave of hers that were crucial to who she is, and that didn't make the final cut. I get it, it's story editing, I needed to look like I did well, but not too good, but at least respect my idol. You know, in a way, I am very surprised by Eureka's maturity in handling all of this. She's like, listen, there was more to my character that was necessary to define my character. Unfortunately, it didn't make to the final cut because, you know, editing is editing, and maybe since I was not supposed to win, they just cut out, you know, the best out of it. And she is handling like really well. And I'm like, I didn't expect Eureka to show this level of maturity in addressing issues even outside of the show, because in the show you can always say, oh, it's the edit. The edit is pushing her up a little bit more, cutting out the right thing and leaving in the exact things that need to be left in. But then you go outside of the show and it's the same thing. Eureka really did her growing up, not like some other queens. So I'm like, great job, Eureka. I wish more people would prove me wrong like this more often. And I swear, it's not just because she's a sex magnet. Moving on. We love you, Eureka. We love you. If you want to join, you're welcome. Oh shit. I'm sorry. I lost it for a moment. So, we are back in the workroom, and Trinity and Pandora actually discuss the challenge, their performance in the challenge. And Pandora explains her difficulties in responding to Eureka's character. And we are shown Eureka justifying her choice. And while she does that, Pandora is bitch-facing to Eureka's words, shady noises are playing in the background, and we're hit with a confessional from Trinity telling us that Pandora was not in the game.
I mean, I went far, but Divine is really meant to be like over the top and like kind of crazy and shocking, and I definitely tried to cross some lines. You know what I mean? I don't know, I felt good about it.
I feel bad for Pandora because I assumed that this would be something that she would prosper in because, you know, she is one of the funny queens. And I think that Pandora could have really did well with the character that she chose, but her head wasn't in it the way that it needs to be.
Auntie, run. You are royally screwed. And to be perfectly clear, I think that they are both right. Because, on one hand, Eureka was just doing the challenge. And on the other hand, Pandora had real trouble in adjusting her character to Eureka's character. So there is really no drama here. However, it looked like some needed to be manufactured for us, the audience. So we need to be drawn into this storyline of Pandora throwing Eureka under the bus. Moving on to the Cryptiques. For this episode, Cryptiques, on average, I think we got pretty good ones, which was refreshing. I think it's mostly courtesy of everything already falling in the right place by itself. But in general, this is by miles not the worst Cryptiques we've ever had. They are actually kind of good. So to Ginger, they say she was always funny and in on the joke, committed, she had clapbacks, she nailed it, she was present, she got more jokes in because she was actually listening and bantering with the others, and that was a smart move. They loved her boots, her gloves, and she would have made Andy Warhol proud. Now there is a lot of Andy Warhol's reference in this runway. Personally, I didn't like the runway. It could be because I have a fucked up sense of fashion, but it's Ginger Minj, so it could also be that was not really a good runway. So you are welcome to, join in on that and tell me what you think. I'm just, standing on the line saying, well, I don't know, didn't like it. But I don't know. For Trinity, her outfit was stunning, and it was. They loved that she incorporated a message with the outfit. Unfortunately, she was sandwiched in between two people that are great natural banterers, so she tried so hard to keep up, but she was just not in her moment. Her jokes didn't land, and she should have chosen a character that she could really make over the top. And I think this is really fair in a way. I mean, they're not saying anything out of line. This is a fair critique to Trinity. To Kylie, they say she is glamorous, she kept it on brand, it's beautiful, she looked good, she nailed the dolly, which she did, she was quick and funny, which she was. Somebody said, I laughed my ass off. I did as well. And she pushed herself further than ever before. And Rue was worried, but Kylie managed to surprise her and redeemed herself from her first Snatch game. So, it's a huge lick for Kylie, which I completely understand. I agree with all of that. I told you that, strangely, I agree with most of the critiques this episode. Then we have Eureka. The outfit was fantastic. I don't know about that. I can tell you that my partner was like, she looks like the love child of a Smurf and an Oompa Loompa. And once he said that, I could not unsee it. So, unfortunately, I don't know how to judge a runway. Her outfit was fantastic. She should have given a little bit more humor. They loved the dirty joke. The makeup was on point. She looked amazing. Hair and makeup was all on point. Quintessential divine. But not all the jokes landed, even though most did. And that it's difficult to say, because we saw an edited version. What I saw, for me, is that all of the jokes that were edited in this episode actually landed. Now, it could always be because, fucked up sense of humor, but to me, all of her jokes landed. So I'm like, what exactly do you mean when you say not all of the jokes landed? Give me an example so that we can understand. So I don't know about that. Jules, even if Eureka didn't look amazing on the runway, we cannot deny her sexual magnetism. We cannot. We can absolutely not. Then to Pandora. She has a fun look, she has a gorgeous look on the runway, she chose a character that she does the same thing over and over, and unfortunately that led her to do the same thing over and over and be stuck there, which, it's quite honest. Unfortunately her character wasn't funny, she delivered some good lines, and then RuPaul asks her, "Did you have fun, Pandora?" And Pandora says, "Well, I got caught up in how my character would respond to Eureka's character." And we have a nice shot of Eureka confused. To make Pandy look even more shady, Pandora is throwing Eureka under the bus. Why do we have this fucking storyline played over and over and over again for basically the whole episode until finally we go back in the workroom? Because by the time we got there, a lot of people are already convinced that Pandora is being shady. How nice is that?
Did you have fun doing the Snatch game?
I did have fun, but I guess I got too caught up in how the character would respond to all the things that Divine was saying.
All right, well, thank you, Pandora.
Thank you.
Moving on to Raja. Raja, they liked her outfit. She needed more pop heart, but her walk was killing it. She had funny moments. She could have gone way further. She was funny without really making jokes. She's laid the challenge. And I'm like, you don't need to have jokes to be funny, you know? You don't need what we consider a standard joke with a setup and a punchline. That's one way of making a joke, but that's not the only way that exists to be funny. Personally, I think that Raja was hilarious. She chose a perfect character. She played up the same joke in a new way over and over and over again, and for me it worked every time. So I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. But clearly it was not Raja's turn to shine. So in a way we need to push her down a little bit. Not so down that she will be in the bottom. Don't forget that. She is, after all, going to end up in the top 4. So you don't want to push her in the bottom. Instead, in the bottom, we're going to have Auntie, Pandy, and Trinity. Of course, after Ginger wins the challenge. So let's go back to the workroom, because we need to hear Trinity explain that she didn't do good because she's not that quick. It's not that she has a lack of commitment, it's just that improv is just very difficult for her. But we are intersected by a confessional of Kylie framed, emphasis on the word framed, as if Trinity just did a terrible job. She felt hard, and even others knew more references of Whitney that Trinity did.
Being quick and witty like that is a talent, and I haven't built that confidence to be that type of funny yet. So I took that L, and I was okay with it, and I am okay with it.
Trinity has 2 wins in her belt, but when she falls, she falls.
Trinity, you want to come over and chit-chat with me for a minute?
Let's chat shit.
Make it good, girl. We knew more Whitney Houston references than she did.
So, you see what I mean when they shit on Trinity during this episode over and over and over again. She starts in the episode at the very beginning saying, this is not my thing, I'm going to try my best, but it's not my thing. Yet time and time again, even though she said it, we have this narrative carried on that Trinity was lazy. It's not that this is not her element, no, Trinity was lazy. So after this, we jump on the sofa because we have Eureka trying to understand what the hell is happening with Auntie Pandy. And this is a great moment because it's a normal adult conversation in which 2 people are explaining their point. Thank you for being both of them so reasonable. So Eureka tries to understand, Pandy explains herself, everything is fine. But one thing that I want you to notice is that even though we are seeing all of this, Eureka is also allowed to explain her point of view in a confessional. Because you, the audience, need to understand that it's not like Eureka was throwing Pandy under the bus during the Snatch game. No. She was doing her thing. Pandy had her problem in dealing with the environment that was set in.
I appreciate her saying that because it puts me a little bit at ease. Like, I deserve to stand up for myself. And if you feel some type of way, say it to me. And let's talk about it so I can defend myself. And if I did something wrong, I don't mind apologizing. But I didn't do anything wrong. I did my job and I did it well.
So make no mistake. If she wasn't in the producer's favor, and I'm talking about Eureka, you wouldn't have seen any of that, as she could have been easily portrayed as stealing the scene to throw Pandora under the bus. So, I'm asking you, does this situation remind you of someone, by the way? Someone, who just did her challenge, but was thrown under the bus by production nevertheless? And I'm really asking you, I'm asking you, chat. Jules, there you go, Utica. Yes, Utica Queen. Utica Queen. Think about it. It's the same exact situation. Both these queens did the challenge. Then Utica fucked it up while Eureka actually did a good job, but both were doing their challenge. One was portrayed as someone disrespecting a ton of different people. The other was portrayed as someone who was just doing the job that she came there to do. And this difference is only coming off from the edit. There you go. So after this, it's time to have a little bit of a talk with Ginger. And we're hit with a confessional of Trinity that makes her coming off as braggy.
For all of you kids at home, let's do the math. This is Pandora's second time in the bottom. She has not had a win. And I have 2 wins. Add the shit up.
And that comes off as bragging. And after that, she explains for the 11th time that she's just not that quick with improv. How many times it happened already in this episode, she has to explain it again. And Ginger responds that she is disappointed because she wanted to see a little bit more of a fight from her. And of course we are also intercepted by a confessional from Ginger, misconstruing Trinity's difficulties as a lack of effort.
Trinity is clearly a frontrunner because she has won 2 times. But I don't know that it would be fair to put her forward in the competition if she's not going to put the same effort into every challenge that she does to the challenges that she's comfortable with.
Now for the 100th time, since the beginning of this, Trinity has been constantly saying it's not a lack of effort, it's not my element. I am trying my best. Do you see how Ginger plays the game well? That's how well she is playing. I'm not faulting Ginger. Let's be honest in here. I'm not faulting Ginger. It's not like she is doing something that will cause huge social media backlash and all of that. She is just playing the game, and she's playing it really well. And I want to recognize her for playing it really well. It's like, I don't know, at some point it looks like she has a telepathic connection to the producers, you know, like, okay, we're going to portray Trinity like this, and even though she's said this over and over and over again, you know, maybe pushing the message that she's being kind of lazy. You know, there is this thing, it's curious, isn't it? It's like really curious. And of course we have a shot of Ginger pretending to choose Trinity. Not that Ginger is pretending, the edit makes it look like she's kind of choosing Trinity. For shits and giggles, of course. Because that's simply never going to happen. Okay, where are we? Oh yes, it's time to move to Untucked. Now, something very interesting happens in here, because we get to have this glimpse of a moment in which Kylie and Pandora actually explain the difficulties of doing comedy because people are too sensitive these days. So they feel like you cannot really joke about anything. It's difficult because it's not really clear where the boundary is. And, you know, if people decide to overreact, they, of course, overreact big time, especially on Drag Race, where the editing somehow, when they want, makes everything look worse. Think of Utica again. They can easily push a joke as a form of disrespect. I think this is a topic that we should spend a moment to talk about, because there are out there some very rare cases of hate that is masquerading itself as comedy. I will not pretend like we don't have these examples, because we have them. But I don't really believe that this is the rule, because I think that it's true. People are generally more sensitive these days, especially considering like 10, 15, 20 years ago. Everything was much different. It's like we live in an historical period in which we decided as a society to withdraw, to make some kind of jokes in exchange for more awareness toward the struggle that some minorities have to face. And that is acceptable for the moment. I totally agree with that. But I'm not sure it's going to really work in the long term, because, you know, comedy is there to actually be politically incorrect. It's there to push boundaries, maybe even to help turning some words that might be perceived as offensive or situations that might be perceived as hurtful into genuine laugh by virtue of drastically changing the context in which these things actually happen. Trigger words become meaningless thanks to comedy, and as long as everyone kind of accepts of taking turns as being the butt of the joke. You know, there always is a butt of the joke. That's just how comedy works. However, somehow I have the feeling that people today just take all of these to the extreme, where you really reach a point in which comedians are afraid to actually do comedy. In a way, this is not just something that happens with comedy. It's a general thing. It looks like we are in a new generation in which people happily give away their ability to contain their emotion to actual strangers, to actual nobody. Anything can trigger them, anything can hurt them. And it's like they don't know how to regulate the way they feel anymore. And instead of learning how to manage their emotion on their own, it looks like they are more interested in avoiding some emotions altogether and actually lost the learning experience that comes from those emotions. At the end of it, they invest a complete stranger with the responsibility of respecting this decision that they made. And this is a very, very difficult situation to address. It's a very difficult topic to manage because we are living in this time period right now. And it's not like I am in my 60s, but even with my limited experience, I can tell you I feel a huge difference. And this is partially one of the reasons why I never gave out like trigger warning, because I think that in a way they're overused. What I try to do is try to find a little bit of a middle way, try to introduce topic in a gentle and sensitive way, to choosing my word appropriately, try to contextualize everything that I'm talking, maybe explaining my emotions toward it, try to be objective but in a way that doesn't necessarily feel devoid of empathy. It's not like we ever talk on really extreme topics on this channel, but sometimes we do talk about things that other people might be a little bit more sensitive to it. But I've actually never used the word trigger, because I don't think it's really healthy to put this word on basically everything. You watch a ton of channels and say, oh, trigger warning for this, trigger warning for that. It's like you are telling people, oh, avoid this. We don't need to avoid everything. We can find a way to speak, in a human way and address topics that other people would otherwise completely ignore, because there are some important things that we really do need to talk about, especially when it comes to our queer community. So I understand that it's difficult for some people to not get emotionally triggered, but I would like in a way to help them being more in control of themselves in the way I kind of try to address these topics. And these are also times in which we need to be understanding, we need to be open to share a little bit of responsibility. So a little bit is on the viewer in trying to contain their emotion, and a little bit is on, the person on the other side of the screen to not be ruthless when it comes to address certain topics, so that we all can talk about them without closing them behind the rules of trigger warning and everything else. I understand very much this thing that Kylie and Pandora are saying resonates with me a lot, because time have indeed changed. Comedy is just one of the symptoms that times have really changed, and change is challenging, but challenges is also what really drives growth like nothing else in life. So I will for you that you are on the other side of the screen, I will like you to join me in this challenge and try to get the best out of it and learn the most out of it without, necessarily feel like we need to fear speaking about some things or speaking about some topics. Because certainly I don't give a shit of what YouTube is going to say when you don't have to talk about some things. We're going to talk about them anyway. Okay, so this is something that I wanted to say, to take this opportunity to discuss about this. Now, another thing that happens during Untucked is that we have one last nice moment with Pandora interacting with Trinity. So, as you know, Pandy didn't really have a mirror moment due to production pushing more for the narrative of her throwing Eureka under the bus, and she didn't really have a mirror moment, but at least she has time during Untucked. So, even though not giving her a moment was a choice, not giving her a moment in the main episode was a choice, at least we get to have this moment. And when you get an edit like Pandora's edit, you should be happy of whatever comes. What can I say? It is how it is. It could be worse. I hope that she got a lot of new fans from it. I hope that her career got a little bit of a bump. I hope that she gets to make those sweet coins, because Pandy, you deserve them. You really deserve them, and we love you. Now, with that said, let's move to the lip sync. Our secret lip sync assassin is the highest priestess, Lady Heidi. She is here to murder Ginger, and to me, she murdered Ginger. I don't agree with the winner of this lip sync. Now, the song is Sugar Walls, and I cannot help but thinking about that audition from X Factor when I think about this song. So I was giggling the whole time.
My sugar walls, my sugar walls, my sugar walls.
Now, Heidi had a little bit of a reveal malfunction. That is completely okay. She had a wig under it, but otherwise she killed the performance. Ginger is kind of doing the same thing again that she did in the last lip sync. She is trying to comedically mocking what the other lip syncer is doing. And apparently it works for production. It didn't really work for me. I am expecting a little bit of new things, especially since this is not the 5th time she lip syncs. This is the 2nd time, so I was expecting something new. Something new didn't come, but apparently whatever she did was enough to make her win. And we find out that she didn't Manila Trinity after all. Too bad, because it would have been great TV. But you have to understand one thing. Although Ginger is a professional toward production, I don't think she's ever going to go as far as risking to seriously compromise her reception in order to be professional toward production. And that's why I think she voted Pandora off. Personally, I think that was the best choice for Ginger, because you know that if she did indeed throw Pandora out, she would never have had the same reception that Naomi did when she kicked Manila out. Just saying, I'm just saying. So, Pandora goes home, tragically, after 3 seasons and not a single win or a single moment to really shine. At least in this season of All Stars, she unceremoniously got sent home. And she went very gracefully, kind of like a Kyria, and she thanks Rue for the opportunities and then sashays away. Goodbye to Auntie Pandy. We wish you the best. You have been in our hearts for more than a decade, and I really hope you get the most out of it. It went the way it went. It was a gamble. We all knew that this was a gamble, but you know, we really wish you the best. Now, let's move on to our final speculations for this season. We don't have a confessional chart, we didn't have time to make it, but at this point it wouldn't have given us much information after all, because we all know already everything that we need to know about this. In the top 4, we definitely have Ginger, Kylie and Raja, plus a 4th queen. This 4th queen, at this point, it's either going to be Trinity or Eureka. While Trinity's edit is going down, somehow Eureka's edit keeps going up. Trinity performed better in the competition, according to the judges, but she received this ambivalent edit despite her best efforts to actually play the game right. On the other hand, Eureka performed good in the competition, but not as good as Trinity, according to the judges, of course. But her edit is undoubtedly favorable, with no real shady moments for her. Her edit is just a slow growth over time, a steady slow growth over time. So both of these queens look like they only have half the package. One did very well in the competition with not as much of a good edit. The other one didn't do that good in the competition with a very good edit. Now, why is this happening? I think because in a way they want to make whoever is the 4th queen in the top 4 not a threat to the actual top 3, which is Ginger, Kylie and Raja. And you know that one of those 3 is definitely going to be the winner, based on the edit that they have, based on challenges win, and based on all the things that we discussed about in this season of the Top 4 All-Star 6. All 3 of them occupy a representation spot. This is a political thing. This is not a matter of performance. This is a kind of decision that it's made in the public relations department. Is it called public relations department? Well, I don't know about that, but you know what I mean by that. So all of them occupy a representation spot. Ginger is the chosen winner for me. I told you before a ton of times. I'm going to tell you again. She's very professional, and she could be the very first big girl to actually win the competition. Kylie would be a great choice too, as the first trans woman, at least for me. But her performance was definitely weaker than Ginger. And last we have Raja as the Queen of Color not portrayed as a villain. And to me, unfortunately, she has little to no chance. She had an incredible edit, her performance was really good, and at this point I think that in a way she kinda deserved it, even more than Kylie, performance-wise. But you know, Kylie and Ginger really offered the opportunity to virtue signaling something new, something that was never done before in the show. And on the other hand, we already had black skinny winners in the past seasons. So I think they're definitely going to take the opportunity to do something new. If anything, because it's good publicity. Now, soon the game within a game will start. I don't think any queen will actually come back, because it never happened that queens would skip being in some episodes and then magically appear in the top 4. But if someone indeed does, it will take the 4th position, currently occupied by either Trinity or Eureka. We'll have to tune in and find out what actually happens. Thank you so much for watching, and as usual, a special thanks to our patrons and our new patrons Green Goddess and Kevin Hoffman, who just joined last week. I will see you back on Sunday for the next live stream or directly here for an episode, whatever you prefer. See you soon and have a nice week.